being fortified by American armor. So the final pincer movement closed here.
Be hoping to do here is to use the power and that strength of that M88 tank device to perhaps jostle the statue enough, snap the moorings, dislodge the foundation enough.
Saying to the Iraqi people he is gone and is no longer a threat to you in a way, but it's a very, very different thing to be putting a flag over the head of such a statue and quite literally waving the flag of the United States in the face of the Iraqi people.
Well, of course, these Marines as well, let's not forget, Michael, here, they've been inside Iraq now for almost 3 weeks, fighting their way.
Is it going to be put back? Is it going to be removed? I mean, what sort of response is the crowd giving to the stars and stripes going onto the head of the statue, almost like a hood?
There was just a sense of absolute disbelief. I mean, a round of applause went up as the noose and blindfold of the stars and stripes swayed the face of Saddam and his statue. I mean, I just turned to one of my Iraqi friends who I've known for 6 years, and he just looked at me and said, utterly unbelievable. Something I'll never forget until my dying day. I mean, it is unbelievable. They've taken the stars and stripes off, but it was the ultimate humiliation. And perhaps an image, if we put it into context, that maybe is just rubbing it in a little too much, given the sensitivities in the rest of the Arab world about this war. But whatever those feelings today, I mean, the statue has been brought down, but I think maybe the stars and stripes for some people may have been going a little too far, but it was an extraordinary moment. But I mean, an absolute clear expression of what we've seen today. American military power and just sheer political will imposing itself in the form of columns of American tanks, armored personnel carriers, and American Marines driving into the city, bringing their armored personnel carriers to the foot of a giant statue of Saddam Hussein, his arm outstretched in a lordly manner, over the neighborhoods of central Iraq. And now it's about to all come crashing down like his political rule over the city.
Raggy, just on that, the moment of the flag being put there, that was reminiscent of that first controversial moment at Qasr when the stars and stripes came out. But your feeling...
There's a man now on top of the armoured personnel carrier. In response to the stars and stripes waved around the face, he's got the old Iraqi flag. He's holding it aloft, and that has raised a big cheer from ordinary Iraqis. They're throwing flowers onto him, urging him to sort of put that around the face. He's holding it aloft. I think some people down at the foot want to see the old Iraqi flag waved around the face of the statue. Others are turning to them and saying, "Give it to me, give it to me. I'll go up and climb and sort of put it around."
Raggy, the crowd continues to grow as the word spreads.
I just didn't hear that right by the sort of armoured personnel carrier engine. I'll move away. Just ask me that question again.
Raggy, I was just saying the crowd, we've watched it continually grow this afternoon as news spreads throughout the area of what is going on.
People are coming out of their houses. The streets that have been so deserted and empty in the last terrible days of this war are now thronging with Iraqis of all ages. There's a man maybe in his mid-40s. He's got a little baby in one hand. He's holding the hand of another little girl. There's an old couple with their 2 sons standing there, maybe 2 grandsons. The 2 sons are utterly stunned. They're in their pajamas. They're looking up at the armoured personnel carrier and the American soldiers climbing on top of the statue. I mean, their jaws almost on the floor. It's just a bizarre scene. But one I think that just surely must be very, very powerfully emotional for all Iraqis. They may be walking around in with amazingly, stunned expressions, or even smiles, or even laughter. But deep down inside, they know it's the end of 25 painful years. And we've seen the rage of the bitterness of those years in which Saddam ruled them expressed today in the looting of government ministries, in burning effigies of Saddam Hussein, of going through every single possible government store, building, ministry, office, and just stripping it of everything. That's when the expression of the rage that people feel here. But mixed in that, of course, is just this more sort of amazingly, wonderful scene of just Iraqis sleeping in anticipation to see the statue fall down, a metal chain, around the neck of Saddam Hussein. And now the Americans about to reverse and just bring it crashing down. What could sum up what has happened to the Iraqi government and the Iraqi leaders' political grip on this city more than such an image?
And how interesting that we should have a change of flag here.
Indeed, with me in the studio just for it to comment
Sorry,
on
say
that.
that again.
Just stay with us, Raghi, for one moment, please, because in the studio, Dr. Hassan Atiyah, what do you make of now we have the Iraqi flag?
Well, I'm quite pleased that there are sensible people down there to realize that this is a moment of friendship, real friendship between the Iraqi people and the allied forces, and the respect of the Iraqi flag is that a sign that there is a mutual understanding, and I hope the relation between the allied forces and the Iraqi people will always be based on the sense of friendship rather than an act of conquers, and rather to be more of a friends and liberator. And I think this gesture is quite respected.
Dr. Atiyah, thank you very much.
Raghi. Raghi, it looks like this is about to happen.
Yes, it is. It is about to happen. I mean, I was just having a chat with one of the Marines who's just gone round to the turret or whatever, the front of the ATC, and I said to him, I've been coming here reporting from Iraq for 6 years, and seeing you and the likes of you here is just quite amazing. He gave a broad grin and said, I'll tell you what, it's even more amazing for us. I wonder what they're sort of feeling. I mean, a sort of mixture of I suppose just keeping focused. They're young Americans. I don't know how, they've been to any other Arab country. They know much about it, but they've just been fighting through the whole southern deserts of Iraq. They made it to Baghdad. They fought their way through it. So they're perhaps not tense, but just a little sort of wary still. But at the same time, they are royally taking part in this demolition of the statue. They stood off a bit earlier and left it to ordinary Iraqis. That's when they just trying to gauge the situation. But once they saw, families and everyone out here, they just thought, to hell with it. It's what people want us to do, and we're going to show them exactly what we're about, and we're about sort of getting rid of Saddam Hussein. And what would be better demonstration than, bringing one of our armoured personnel carriers up here. I mean, they've broken the steps to this place. I mean, I don't think anyone's cared at all. Now they're about to tear it down. There's one of the Marines just climbing down the ladder or whatever it is, the top of the neck of it, the statue. And Iraqis jumping down to the foot of the armoured personnel carrier, anticipating the moment.
Maggie, it's quite difficult to hear you, but we would rather you kept talking to us, explaining what is happening there and the mood of the people.
Well, the mood of the people is just one of great joy, I think. I mean, they realise that Saddam Hussein his rule has ended. There's an Iraqi guide or translator travelling with the Marines who's trying to give instructions to people gathered here to move back because the statue is going to come crashing down, and the Marines don't want anyone to be hurt as it does so. Here it goes. I think this could be the moment. The armoured personnel carriers reversing slowly. The crowds are cheering. They're jumping up and down. It's the chain is happening around the neck of the statue of Saddam Hussein. People are throwing stones up at it. They're about to come down. This is the most symbolic moment. The image of the day as Saddam Hussein and his 25-year rule is about to come crashing down. It's featuring on the edge. People waiting in utter anticipation. holding V for victory signs up, the Marines trying to hold them down, people throwing stones in rage and disgust. He's teetering on the edge. Perhaps they're stopping for a moment. They're pushing someone back, I think. They're urging Iraq. Iraqis want to just run up some of them to the statue. They want to run up to the statue and just be as close to this crash as possible. And they're about to chant, they're chanting, "Best to Saddam, best to Saddam." All right, okay. They're moving the armoured personnel carrier back, and this is the moment, I think. They're doing it tentatively. The little striped flag wave. Armoured personnel carrier is fluttering in the wind, giving the instruction to reverse the armoured personnel carrier. And people just waiting in anticipation, their cameras pointing towards this moment of enormous symbolism. And the armoured personnel carrier is just gingerly trying to make its way back behind the steps leading up to the statue. And Iraqis are just really, they're just desperate for this to happen. Urgent to be more quick about it. They want to see this statue come crashing down. It's making a grinding sound as the armoured personnel carrier gingerly reversing, tightening the tension of the ropes and the chains around the neck of the statue of Saddam Hussein. And there's several people holding the old Iraqi flag aloft at this moment. There's 3 men holding it up.
To me, it's been taking an awful long time for the American armour to get here, and I was watching it yesterday over the last 4
In fact, they're increasingly worried that someone might get hurt because of the size of this statue. But the engines of the armoured personnel carrier are roaring, and the grip of the... Oh, here it comes! Saddam's grip on this city, and ever more so day by day, minute by minute, his grip on this whole country that he has ruled for 25 years. They're urging them to pull the statue down, and there it goes. Iraqis are just scrambling past the American Marines to smash and tear the statue to pieces. They're trying whatever they can to get to hand, anything. It's an expression of just their rage and hatred of what this man has done to them and their country. They're picking up broken bits of masonry. The Marines are trying to force them back. Some of them just keep throwing bits of masonry and broken stone and brickwork. They now want to finish the job. They're going to reverse back even further until it comes completely crashing down. There are Marines even taking pictures themselves of this. They put their M16 machine guns down, trying to take pictures. There it is. 25 years of hatred and rage as they jump up on the statue, trouncing it with anything that they're flicking their shoes off. They're smashing it to pieces. They're waving their fists in the air. They're chanting death to Saddam. Oh, they're clapping in the air. Some of them are absolutely in floods of tears and emotion.
3:49 London time, the statue, a bronze statue of Saddam Hussein, was toppled in the very heart of Baghdad. The Iraqi flag being held aloft there. Tim Marshall.
The belief deep down inside that in this project to overthrow Saddam Hussein, they would be welcomed as liberators in the Iraqi capital, and the hopes of the British and American government. And it was captured in front of ordinary Iraqis, American Marines, and the whole of the world's media.